The ground spread his mantle for the prophet to lie on, and himself went off in search of food. He came across a shepherd, a Bedouin boy, who was also seeking a shelter. Abu Bakr asked him for some milk and took it to the prophet, cooled it with some water, and waited till the prophet woke up and quenched his thirst. Whoever asked Abu Bakr about the identity of his honorable companion, he would reply that he was a man who guided him on his way. The questioner would think that Muhammad was a guide in terms of roads, whereas Abu Bakr used to be guide to the way of righteousness. Quraysh, as we have already mentioned, had declared that whoever would seize Muhammad would receive 100 camels as reward. This had spurred many persons to try their luck. Among those who were on the lookout for the Prophet and his companion in order to win the reward with Suraka, the son of Malik. He, on receiving information that a party of 4 had been spotted on a certain route, decided to pursue it secretly so that he alone should be the winner of the reward. He mounted a swift horse and went in hot pursuit of them. On the way, the horse stumbled and he fell on the ground. On drawing a lot so as to divine whether he should continue the chase or not, as the Arabs used to do in such circumstances, he found the omens of unpropitious, but the lust for material wealth blinded him altogether, and he resumed the chase. Once more he met with the same fate, but paid no heed to it. Again he jumped into the saddle and galloped at a breakneck speed till he came quite close to the Prophet. Abu Bakr's heart agitated, and he kept looking back while the Prophet remained steadfast and continued reciting verses of the Quran. The repeated stumbling of Suraka's horse and his falling off awakened him to the situation, and he realized that it was a contest warning of Allah for his evil design which he contemplated against the Prophet. He approached the travelling group with a penitent heart and begged of the Prophet forgiveness in all humility. He addressed the Prophet and his companions, saying, "Your people, the Qurayshites, have promised a generous reward to anyone who captures you." He added that he offered them provisions, but they declined his offer. They only asked him to screen off their departure and blind the polytheists to their hiding place. Then the Prophet forgave him and confirmed it with a token written by Amir. On a piece of parchment, Suraka hurried back to Mecca and tried to foil the attempts of those who were in pursuit of Muhammad and his noble companions. The sworn enemy was converted into an honest believer. In a version by Abu Bakr, he said, "We immigrated while the Meccans were in pursuit of us. None caught up with us except Suraka on a horse. I said, 'O Messenger of Allah, this one has caught up with us.' The Prophet replied, 'Don't be cast down, verily Allah is with us.' The party continued its journey until it reached two solitary tents belonging to a woman called She was a gracious lady who sat at her tent door with a mat spread out for any chance traveller that might pass by the way, fatigued and thirsty. The Prophet and his companions wanted to refresh themselves with food and some milk. The lady told them that the flock was out in the pasture and the goat standing nearby was almost dry. It was a rainless year. The Prophet, with her permission, touched its udders, reciting over them the name of Allah, and to their great joy there flowed plenty of milk out of them. The Prophet first offered that to the lady of the house, and he shared what was left with the members of the party before he left. He milked the goat, filled the container, and gave it to later on. Her husband arrived with slender goats hardly having any milk in their udders. He was astonished to see milk in the house. His wife told him that a blessed man passed by the way, and then she gave details about his physical appearance and manner of talk. Here Abu Bakr realized on the spot that the man was the one Quraysh were searching for, and asked her to give full description of him. She gave a wonderful account of his physique and manners, to which we will go in detail later in the process of talking about his attributes and merits. Listening to his wife's account, expressed a sincere wish to accompany the Prophet whenever that was possible, and reiterated his admiration in verses of poetry that echoed all over Mecca to such an extent that the people therein thought it was a jinn inculcating words in their ears. Asma, daughter of Abu Bakr, on hearing those lines, got to know that the two companions were heading for Medina. The short poem opened with thanksgiving to Allah, having given them the Mabads the chance to host the Prophet. For a while it then gave an account of the bliss that would settle in the heart of the Prophet's companions, whosoever he was. It closed with an invitation to all mankind to come and see by themselves Mabad, her goat, and the container of milk that would all testify to the truthfulness of the Prophet. On his way to Medina, the Prophet met Abu Buraida, one of those driven by their lust for the reward of Quraysh. No sooner did he face the Prophet and talk with him than he embraced Islam along with 70 of his men. He took off his turban, tied it around his lance, and took it as a banner bearing witness that the angel of security and peace had come to imbue the whole world with justice and fairness. The two immigrants resumed their journey. It was during this time that they met Az-Zubair at the head of a caravan returning from Syria. There was warm greetings, and Az-Zubair presented to them 2 white garments, which they thankfully accepted. On Monday, 8th Rabi al-Awwal, the 14th year of prophethood, September 23rd, 622, the Messenger of Allah arrived at Cuba. As soon as the news of Muhammad's arrival began to spread, crowds came flocking out of Medina. They would come every morning and wait eagerly for his appearance, until forced by the unbearable heat of the midday sun to return. One day they had gone as usual, and after a long wait and watch they retired to the city, when a Jew, catching a glimpse of 3 travellers clad in white wending their way to Medina, shouted from the top of a hillock, "O you people of Arabia, your grandfather has come. He, whom you have been eagerly waiting for, has come." The Muslims immediately rushed, holding their weapons, to defend him. The joyful news soon spread through the city, and people marched forward to greet their noble guest. Said, the shouts of Allahu Akbar, Allah is great, resounded in Banu. Muhammad elation correspondingly increased, but with rare sense of timing and propriety called a halt. Serenity enveloped him, and the evolution was sent down. Then verily Allah is his Mawla Lord, Master of Protector, Gabriel, and the righteous among the believers, and furthermore the angels are his helpers. They received the messenger of Allah and went with them to the right. The Banu, that was on Monday, Rabi al-Awwal, he sat down silent, and al-Ansar, the helpers, who had not had the opportunity to see him before, came in to greet him. It is said that the sun became too hot, so Abu Bakr stood up to shade him from the hot sun rays. It was really an unprecedented day in Medina. The Jews could perceive secretly the veracity of the Prophet Habakkuk, who said, God has come from At-Taiman and the Kudos, one from the Firmament.